I want to be able to make this much money by this period of time to provide for a family, and I don't care how hard it gets, but I'll provide for you and provide for the kids, and I'll be the protector and the covering over the family. Follow me because I'm going to lead us. That's what they want to hear.
She's got dollar signs for eyeballs. Sorry, not eyebrows.
I mean, like, it's a way to go ahead and attract a gold digger. And if you're doing it with a purpose, then just stand on business with it, right?
Women get into spaces. You give them positions of power in women's Bible study, leadership in the churches, altar girls, and they start to change the culture.
It reeks of, I want all of the agency and none of the responsibility. It's enslavement. When you don't maintain that strong level of reciprocation and appreciation for this man who's doing this for the family, it's enslavement.
Everybody serves the woman.
If mama ain't happy. Patriarchy is not a bad word.
Patriarchy is not a bad word. Yeah, long live the patriarchy. Bring it back.
Don't fight the patriarchy, feed it.
Today, we're talking about hierarchies. We're familiar with this idea. I'm going to go ahead and give a definition so that we can go ahead and have common understanding as we go through this. So a hierarchy is a system or organization in which people or groups are ranked one above the other according to status or authority. Does that kind of rock with you? You get it?
Yeah.
You get the idea? Okay, let's go ahead and get her started.
Young men, you need to have a destination in your life. If you are on a date and a young lady says, well, what do you do? And you're like, it's I kind of meander. And I go on DraftKings and I own crypto and I don't know. And loser, instead it should be, I'm studying this because of this. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to work for this person. I want to be able to make this much money by this period of time to provide for a family, and I don't care how hard it gets, but I'll provide for you and provide for the kids, and I'll be the protector and the covering over the family. Follow me because I'm going to lead us. That's what they want to hear.
Yes, but.
Yes,
and
but.
yes, and.
Yes, and. Yeah.
All right, so good message overall,
Yes.
I think. However, if she asks you this on a date and you launch into it like that, and she actually hops on board, that's a huge red flag. Because here's the deal.
She's got dollar signs for eyeballs. Sorry, not eyebrows.
Well, yeah, dollar signs for eyebrows.
Eyebrows.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like tattooed all over the place. There you go.
She probably has a matching grill then.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a way to go ahead and attract a gold digger, right? However,
Yes.
the core message that he was saying, I think is right on the money.
Yeah.
I think it is right on the money to have a freaking plan for yourself and not to go ahead and be like, I do DraftKings and I own crypto. Like, owning crypto is good. Like, it is an asset. It is a store of value. There's a lot of good things about that. And if you're doing it with a purpose, then just stand on business with it, right? But if you're going to go ahead and have that little tone of voice like you're hiding, of course you're going to have problems. I think that's crazy.
Why did I instantly think of Kristoff from Frozen? I don't know if you want it, maybe kind of like.
That's not how you do it. But you also don't go ahead and jump over the moon like this.
You don't launch into that on a first date.
You don't launch into that on a first date. Though, it could be something that is elucidated over time on a first date when you're having a talk about values.
Y'all want to, if the conversation wins it with that way, not just like, hi, my name is, and I'm going to do this and this.
Right. So it should be part of the dance.
Yeah.
I understand that he's saying it for effect, for the purpose of getting across a message in a compact period of time for the purpose of his speech. Totally get that. What I'm telling to the audience is don't do that.
Don't lead with that.
Don't lead with that. That's not
that's
good.
great, but like don't lead with that.
Right.
But yeah, you just can't like info dump that. But I love the energy.
Sure.
That is what's needed in this culture.
Yeah. And just having the balls to go ahead and stand up and say it,
It's
right?
like, are you here for this? Cool.
And if you are, great. Hop aboard and know your place and let's go.
But if you do get to that point, if you're a guy and you get to that point and then you start with this is my vision for, myself and my family and all of that stuff you long for. She's like, no, I'm going to go and I'm going to girl boss and
Run.
That's not it.
Sure. And it's a sign that she's likely to go ahead and start a mutiny later. So
Future mutineer.
there you go. Let's move on to the next clip.
You cannot give women power. We just are not good with it. I don't know why. Women get into spaces, you give them positions of power and women's Bible study, leadership in the churches, altar girls, and they start to change the culture. The women in church are not better than the women out of church. Why do we shame the people talking about it instead of addressing the problem? Why is the question, oh, it's just the churches you go to, instead of saying, what is the problem here? They almost make God these women's husbands. And it's really sad, because what are these women going to do in their old age? And the issue is, a lot of these pastors and preachers get money from single women. They have a vested interest in keeping women single. I'm the nice one, guys. I'm telling you, this is what they do. The church needs to start appealing to men again instead of women. Men tend to do the right thing. Women just tend to do the wrong thing. They need to do an active campaign to get masculine men in church, because right now it's feminine men and women, because these are the men that tell the women exactly what they want to hear. And until the church does an active campaign to get men back into the church, you're going to keep seeing stuff like this and single childless women in the church. So what's going to happen to these women when they get old?
Yes, definitely yes. I think that far too many churches are infected with feminism in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And they talk about blank slate equalism. And anytime you talk about headship, it's like, yeah, but she's the neck that turns the head.
Oh, gosh.
It's like all these crazy things to allude to, hey, I want to have equal say. And it's like, that's not what the book says, first of all. And second of all, do you really want that, though?
It reeks of, I want all of the agency and none of the responsibility. Clearly.
There you go. That's exactly what it is. And the fact that you've got so many churches that are speaking almost exclusively to women or have a really feminizing message to men is why we have a lot of problems in the church nowadays that we do. Is that we go ahead and have exchanged the divine order, which is something that we're going to be talking about today. Hey, it relates to the content, it turns out. That by turning away from that, we have allowed too much negative influence into the church.
I think the last shove, as far as having been in the church like that, was a lot of guys are like, obviously, to find the kind of girl that I want that has morals and standards and can submit and all that stuff, they're like, I'll go to church and I'll find one, right?
Sure, but half of them are single moms now.
Now they're like this with this. So I've been kind of in my own weird brain calling it like millennial grade churches that are just like this. Yeah, this like wishy-washy kind of theology that's just pretty much
you say what people want to hear.
A step above like Joel Osteen and stuff, like what people, like it's just positive self-talk.
Sure. Well, the thing is, when you go ahead and tell people what they want to hear, you don't tell people what they need to hear in order for them to have the kind of life that they actually want and to have the kind of life that is productive and of redemptive value over the long term. So let's move on to the next one.
Because I think like the bow is historically is coming from a place of like you're bowing to somebody who is not your equal, who is like kind of above you. And in a partnership, in a relationship, you are to treat each other as equals.
Hold on. Since when have women ever wanted their equal? You think women are going
created
for their
equally.
Equal? Okay, equal in life value. But do you think women actually want their equal?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well,
like, what do you mean they're equal?
I'm not saying this is the case for all women, but women typically want, for example, a guy who's more charismatic than them, a guy who's more interesting than them, a guy who's more entertaining than them, a guy who makes more money than them. So we're not equal.
A guy who's more competent across domains.
A guy who's more confident than they are.
Well, yes, but I wouldn't say that like he's more valuable than me.
And we come back to the beginning.
Right. So, all right. So here's some context, right? The bow. So for like the first year of the Whatever podcast, one of the videos that he would show to the group of women would be like a guy coming home and an Asian woman coming up and bowing to the man and then taking his coat and shoes and then him going. And he would ask, hey, for the right man, would you do this? And for the vast majority of the women, the answer was a resounding no. And so that's the lead in to this is, no, I'm not going to bow, because typically you bow to somebody that's higher than you.
That's an S word.
Right? It's about submission. And so going back to the whole submission thing, you submit to a superior man And let's be honest, most women want somebody who is superior to them. That is a generally accepted thing for all the reasons that they had stated. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because like women aren't looking for somebody that they can domineer for the most part. They're looking for someone they can look up to.
Dude, when she was like, "Can you elaborate on that?" It was like the wheels. You could hear like the buffer wheel like almost creaking. It was so like palpable. But it seemed to me like when there's kids doing like a spelling bee and they want to like buy time, they go, "Can you use that in a sentence?" Like,
Sure.
or like, can you give me a definition like to stall out? And it's just like, stop it right now.
Right, but the thing is, I think a lot of people cannot separate the idea of intrinsic human value and their value to a marketplace.
Yep. We talked about that.
Right? Yeah. Because there is the fundamental trade between men and women, and we understand this to be the case, and you're delusional if you don't see it for what it is. And whether or not you can go ahead and put the words to it, the actions and the attitudes that are reflected in that trade are representative of that difference in value if there exists one.
I think she got fixated, like a lot of women get stuck on this point because they understand that what they value in a man is material. Like there's a price tag to that.
Sure.
And that's the thing is like, that's why they're like, well, no.
But then they don't want to pay the price.
No.
It's just like the whole accountability thing.
Especially because we've already talked like in depth about the fact that exchange, like what a woman brings to a marriage is not that. And they keep trying to say, well, I've got these degrees and I make this much money. And they don't, and men don't care.
Yeah, most men don't really care.
It's not working that way. And they're just like, why no work?
Because they're brought up to go ahead and believe in blank slate equalism and that they're the same as men and they can do everything that a man can do. It's like, sure, but at what cost?
It's just hitting this wall where it's like, your rhetoric has no bearing here.
Because they don't consider the other side of the table.
They can't understand. They can't even comprehend it. Like they can't fathom.
Yeah, it was really interesting because today we were doing some recording, and so I recorded a video on 14 things a woman should bring to the table. We're going to link it right up here in a card. There we go. Cross-promoting. Awesome. So now that I've done proper YouTube things like subscribe and hit the like button, let's go ahead and look at some examples of different hierarchies that exist in nature and in culture so that we can get acclimated to the idea of hierarchies before we discuss different hierarchies that you would see in a family setting. Because that's really the main thrust of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, because, well, also that's been our objective from the get-go was like, hey, if you're somebody who wants to be in a long-term, devoted marital relationship with a family and all of that stuff, like, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing what we're doing.
Sure. Okay, so among men, generally speaking, you have pyramid-shaped hierarchies. Right? There's relatively few at the top and substantially more at the bottom. And the two basic kinds of hierarchies are competence hierarchies and dominance hierarchies. Both of those kind of make sense. Mm-hmm. Competence is just, hey, your ability to do stuff, and dominance is your ability to dominate and bring other people into submission. It just is what it is. Conquerors of the past have done this. You see that in sporting events in a lot of ways. And
Nobody
competence
can challenge you to Makara.
Yeah, we don't have people challenging you to Makara for leadership of the clan, for example. And in most like industry-related hierarchies, you see competence hierarchies on average. Every now and then you'll see a blend when people are jockeying for positions in leadership. Like, for example, political leadership or political positions, often you'll see a mixture of both competence and dominance for the sake of earning votes and things of that nature. Now, women's hierarchies operate completely differently.
It's like, take all of that, throw it in the trash.
Right. So,
well, most of it. I think some of the dominance one kind of...
There's some dominance in that, but it plays out differently.
Yeah.
It's not obvious like it is in men's side. It reminds me of Mean Girls, right? So generally speaking, they are flat hierarchies, at least when you look at them on the surface level, they appear to be flat.
Especially in what they say.
Right.
Oh, we're all about supporting women and
Until you step out of line.
Please.
And then all of a sudden, hate, 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 shame, shame, shame. How dare you step against the agenda? But 2 general like guidelines for what kinds of hierarchies exist between women. They're usually hierarchies of harmony and hierarchies of conformity.
Yep.
That makes sense with what we were just saying. And a lot of times, though it looks flat on the surface, when you look underneath it, when you look underneath the waterline of the tip of the iceberg.
It's the Mariana Trench.
It's the Mariana Trench. It goes deep. It's like playing a game of Snakes and Ladders or like Candyland. But in Snakes and Ladders, it's like that, except there are no ladders. It's only snakes.
Oops, all snakes.
Oops, all snakes. Because you can go ahead and step on a landmine in Girl World and just go ahead and get torpedoed to the bottom of the social hierarchy.
I do
real
mean
quick.
snakes.
Well, yeah, there's lots of snakes in the grass because they'll go ahead and have a smile on their face and they'll stab you in the back. Mm-hmm. Does that pretty much check out as far as the female experience?
I first started thinking about like happy July or September 1st to all who celebrate in the Potterhead world. But the Hogwarts stairs.
Okay.
You're on a track and it'll completely move.
Sure.
And then you have to go all the way around everywhere else and all over creation just to get back to class like you were supposed to do.
And it's kind of hard because it keeps changing on you.
I'm going to still take points from Ravenclaw when you're late.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Now, in the animal kingdom, it's typically a predator-prey kind of thing. It's really a matter of the food chain. That's pretty straightforward. You've seen that.
I mean, this is the OG of where we get it's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this is an example that people can go ahead and readily see and recognize and be like, yes, that's what hierarchy is. I get it. You kill and eat the other person. Or animal, I guess, in this case. And we're animals too, in a way. Like, we're just the apex predators in this food chain. Is what it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, right? That would offend some of the vegans out there, but yeah, we eat meat, so we're happy with it.
I don't care. You don't pay my bills.
There you go. Anyway, other examples of hierarchies are things like mental hierarchies, as far as like your priorities. You go ahead and arrange your priorities yourself, and they go ahead and take a place depending on how you've arranged it. You sometimes see it in terms of class or class hierarchies, where you have the lower class, you have the middle class, and then you have the upper class, and aristocracies, and depending on how the society is ordered.
Yeah.
And social standing is another thing where you could be rich, but just because you're rich doesn't mean you're influential. And just because you're influential doesn't mean you're rich. Those are different hierarchies because they have different rules associated with them. So now that we've kind of like gone over different kinds of hierarchies, I think we can go ahead and move on to looking at different models of what a family looks like. And then we can kind of give our 2 cents on why we think certain things are good, neutral, or bad in terms of ordering a family. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So first off, we'll go ahead and look at the conventional model. And in order to do that, we'll go ahead and take a look at a clip from Breaking Bad.
Sorry. The answer is still no. I have made a series of very bad decisions, and I cannot make another one.
Why did you make these decisions?
For the good of my family.
Then they weren't bad decisions. What does a man do, Walter? A man provides for his family.
This costs me my family.
When you have children, you always have family. They will always be your priority, your responsibility. And a man provides. And he does it even when he's not appreciated or respected or even loved. He simply bears up, and he does it because he's a man.
That's some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So just some context for people that don't know what's going on in that clip. So Walter, the white guy with glasses, was presented an opportunity for like a drug creation laboratory that was like super high tech, and he was offered to run the facility and to move it because he has a reputation. However, he had had problems with his family because of things before that in his earlier adventures with like producing and distributing drugs. And so when he's having that internal struggle, he's like, look, I don't want to lose my family. And that's when the other gentleman is like, a man provides, even if he's not loved, even if nobody cares about it, he just bears down and does it. And to me, that's like the conventional model for a family hierarchy. I think in a lot of ways, that is something that you saw for most of history. If you didn't look at it from a divine purpose-driven kind of thing, is that men generally gave their lives, gave their bodies to go ahead and find whatever it was to find to be able to provide for their family, feed the children, and to make sure they were taken care of. What do you think about that? Just off rip.
So in a modern like context, right? And he talked about that your kids will always be your kids and they don't even have to like you. Mm-hmm. You know, you were doing what you needed to do no matter what. And they will always be your kids. And there's no mention of what about their mother, you know, kind of thing.
Sure.
So it kind of implies that it doesn't matter whether or not she decides to stay.
Right. Or she decides to like care or reciprocate or any of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're just doing this. And if any, at the very least, your kids are taken care of because those are your kids no matter what until the day that you are no longer on this planet.
Sure. It's your genetic legacy.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that it's almost like a given that marriage is optional.
Well, I mean,
it is.
Let's be honest,
but
it is.
Even the providing for a wife or your baby mama, whatever it is.
Sure.
You know, that's like, take it or leave it.
In that context. Now, the way that I see it applied regularly is that there is a wife and children and that the guy gives himself up for it. And this reminds me of like beta providers where they weren't the woman's first pick, but he's the one that's paying the bills. And so he'll get just enough to keep him on the line. So things like he has the responsibility of providing excess resources so that she and the kids can be comfortable. He's got the responsibility to provide some form of safety, right? If something happens, he's expected to put his life on the line, and he's expected to not care about self. I think this is where this model goes wrong.
Yes, incredibly. But also, this modern society where this is so prevalent is what women hath wrought. And how can you render yourself any more powerless? Like, this is what you wanted, and you are just you've written yourself out of it. Marriage, relationship, wife provided for, mother of your children, mother of his children valued, completely out of it. Mm-hmm. Like, this is what you want? Really?
Well, on either side of that equation, because really that's not what the man wants. The man wants to have a good all-around life, but he settles for a life that is less than ideal. And on the flip side, usually it's the result of the woman settling for him.
Yeah, and that's the only part that's talked about, is that she settled.
A lot of times people don't want to admit that that's the case. They want to go ahead and give the impression, oh yeah, I picked you because I love you and I care about you.
No,
but then when
I picked you because
I didn't get picked by the bad boys that I wanted.
Yeah.
Or those bad boys didn't have the actual dad qualities of being able to provide. They just gave her a good ride.
But it's spun that like even men parrot this rhetoric that like, I'm so lucky she picked me.
Yeah.
They get the men to parrot this for them.
Sure, but I think this is the problem with dudes putting women on a pedestal. Is when they pedestalize a woman, then she loses respect for him. It's like treating your woman like an idol and you are a fan to her. It's like no major performer goes ahead and treats their fans with the level of respect that you would want to have in a relationship. Now, the last piece about this is like there's little expectation on the guy's side for anything other than basic reciprocation. So like just enough starfish action, just enough fidelity where they're not just rampantly all over town, and they're going to at least mind the kids or put them in public school and do whatever. But ultimately, I think that there are strengths to this model when you have a moral people that have integrity, right? If you are in a stage of life where you have to put in the time to do this, to go ahead and you're actually working yourself to the bone, there's something to be said about that. And that's to be praised. However, I think this isn't a thing to be maintained long term. I think that's a thing to do for a season and not a thing to be sustained long term.
And especially in this culture.
Oh, yeah,
Because
definitely not in this culture.
There is such a fine line between reciprocal appreciation and just tolerance. And that's why this is not sustainable. And when you don't maintain that strong level of reciprocation and appreciation for this man who's doing this for the family, it's enslavement.
Well, right. The thing is, the guy is training her to treat him like this. Whereas if he is doing his part and he is bringing home the bacon and he is not being treated well, he is allowing her to not treat him well. And it doesn't mean you have to go ahead and go to the flip side, like the whole Brian Atlas thing where you go ahead and say, hey, I expect the bow and to take my shoes and take my coat. But it could be that. It doesn't have to be that, but it could be. Is even something as simple as meeting him at the door and giving him a kiss and giving him a hug and then giving him the space to decompress before they come together as a family. Most men would be happy even just to get that, which is a sad commentary on today's life.
And there, in the last like maybe 2 to 4 weeks, I've seen a lot of videos about, oh, please, decompression. You had the whole ride home. Like you had the whole, you don't get that because I've been here all day. And it's like that whole, I have it worse than you.
Sure. But I mean, if the woman is sending their kids to school and she's just hanging around the house doing whatever, like household chores don't take that long. Like, let's be real honest. We have dishwashers to wash the dishes. We have washers and dryers to handle the laundry. We have Roombas. We have a lot of conveniences that are available now to take the management of a home from a huge deal back in the early 1900s to like relatively no time at all today. So in terms of time, a lot of times they're just watching TikTok and popping bonbons. And that's all they got going. That's crazy. And then they can't go ahead and give him decent energy. When a guy is busting his butt and a woman is offloading her responsibilities elsewhere, do you believe that they're filling their time?
I think this is a thing that should be consciously negotiated, not just this thing where she says, you know, you don't get any decompression time. And because I've been here all day and I'm like stressed out and whatever. Whereas he shouldn't say stuff like that, where it's like, it doesn't take any time to do this. And blah, blah, you don't know. It's just more of the same on both sides of the spectrum.
Let's be real honest, though. Like, I'm not looking to dig in, but the time it takes to literally do these things is less now than it was in the 1900s.
It's not all about that.
I'm not saying that it is, but what I am saying is the actual time and physical labor associated with it is lessened now thanks to technology.
It's not all about that.
Then what is it about?
Childcare and managing a home, there's more than just housework.
So in the example that I gave...
I'm not talking about the whole mental load thing and all of that stuff.
Not what I'm talking about.
I'm just talking about, like, there is more nuance, especially in a modern context of just management of home and family.
Sure.
Whether or not you send kids to school, whether or not it's still a thing.
I'd like for you to go ahead and actually defend the case of if kids are being sent to school. I would like for you to defend that.
I do not know how public school parents do what they do.
Explain.
They are having to be completely removed from their kids' educational environment. They're not there for the 10 hours that they are in school, knowing what they're learning. They have to get all of this stuff and what they're learning and what they're dealing with and what they're supposed to do once they get home and all of this stuff. They have to get secondhand through an individual who has 30 other parents who are also trying to get the same information secondhand, and they are weighing what they're being given or the care or the education that their kids are being given and weighing that against what their kid actually needs, advocating for that. And they have to navigate not just educators, but administrators and paraspecialists and all of these different things.
Okay.
I can't imagine having to fight that machine.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and push back because I think that you are representing the involved parent as the majority case. And I would say that is probably not actually the case. I would say that the average public school parent is not doing those things that you are saying that they are.
I don't know that I could too. I might give up.
Sure. But what I'm saying is, I think that you are giving them too much credit by assuming that that is the average case.
I believe that there is a time at least when there is a measure of struggle with that.
Okay.
And
do you think that's representative throughout the entire K through 12 journey? Or do you think that's a limited thing?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, I'm asking
what
for your
I see,
opinion of what you think it is.
I don't know.
Okay. So you kind of just give them a pass a little bit because you don't know what their struggle is. So for 10 hours,
and there might be different waves of it because every kid's different and they're in this cage of 30, a batch of 30 and they're having to, it's kind of like the carps at the zoo, the lake at the zoo.
I think you're giving benefit of the doubt and that's admirable, but I'm not sure that it is earned or merited. Basically, the conventional model is that the men are less important than the women, regardless of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Which are less important than the children.
Absolutely.
That's the model that we're talking about.
And
there.
The basic crux of it is I don't think that one spouse should go at another and just say, hey, you're not doing anything, or you don't get this because I think that you, from my limited view of what you have responsibility and care over, it doesn't merit it to me. It's that's not okay.
I think that's not the approach that most people take with it, though. I think that when you use words like any, never, always, it's very...
I think they do.
I think that some people might, but if we're talking about something simple like, hey, here's a schedule of what is expected to be done as we've agreed upon and negotiated.
That is the thing.
If right that is the case and it's not getting done and there's no real reason it didn't get done, that's where I have a problem with it.
Sure.
And I think that is a reasonable thing that we see throughout the society a lot. And I think that the benefit of the doubt is extended far more often to women than it is to men.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's all I was getting at. And it's just the case.
Either side, it should not be.
Shouldn't be. But it's not about should or should not. It's about what is, right?
Yeah. But in this case, what we're talking about with the structure and all of this, why it's not sustainable is because of what is against what should be.
Right. So you have an imbalance on what's going on and you don't, and it isn't for a season thing. It's trying to handle it for the long term. It breaks down really easily because you have this inequity about what's going on in life.
So weighing the whole what should be against what is, and the fact that we've been given a pass more than men, is it where we started that it's enslavement of men?
Sure. But the thing is
and that's why it's not right.
I believe it's not right either. And it's just one of those things where a lot of time it is an accepted norm by our society that this is a model to go ahead and live by. Because when we look at a female-centric society, if we can enslave men for the sake of the women, it's a good thing for the women. Right? And that's just the perspective of why this is something that is lifted up as an acceptable model for the family.
It's just gross.
I agree. But hey, let them go ahead and spend their time on TikTok or whatever. This just is what it is. So next, we'll go ahead and talk about the feminine primary model. This is a model where women's needs are at the top and men's needs and children's needs are both below the women's needs. It's not like the previous one where the children were the most important thing and then women and then the men at the bottom. Men are still at the bottom at this, but it's just the women are put on top. Here's a quote from Charles Bukowski on this matter. It says, "Don't wait for the good woman. She doesn't exist. There are women who can make you feel more with their bodies than their souls, but these are the exact women who will turn the knife into you right in front of the crowd. Of course, I expect this, but the knife still cuts. The female loves to play man against man, and if she is in a position to do it, there is not one who will resist. The male, for all his bravado and exploration, is the loyal one. He's the one that generally feels love. The female is skilled at betrayal and torture and damnation." That is scathing.
It is.
But it's not all women. It's just one of those things.
It's part of the whole thing that Pearl talked about. Why women shouldn't be in leadership.
Right. Especially not in the churches, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a little bit more to this. Never envy a man his lady. Behind it all lies a living hell. Well, if you're with this kind of woman that's going to go ahead and backstab you and put you to the cart and drive you and then put herself at the top of the hierarchy, all of this stuff is much more likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's interesting because generally men are happy to go ahead and provide and do the thing. In so doing, they are generally more open to betrayal in that there is usually more opportunity for women to betray men. Whereas men, like, they're going to go ahead and do things, but there's a certain expectation of where they should be and when. And the very breaking of that pattern is usually an indication to a woman that there's something afoot. Whereas with men, if, like, he's off going to work and she's got all this time on her hands and all the appearances are that things are going well and there's plenty of time to mess around with because all the dishes are done, the house is clean, and I still got 4 more hours. There's time and opportunity to do bad things if you want to be doing bad things.
Idle hands.
Idle hands are the devil's playground. That's right. Now, I think if we look at this example of a family model, it also presupposes that men take on feminine pretexts of love where, hey, they love idealistically, whereas we know that generally speaking, women love opportunistically. Like if the guy is bringing home his part of the thing, she is much more likely to treat him well and treat him with respect. But if he's just doing the bare minimum, she is not going to treat him anywhere near as well as she would if he was actually climbing mountains and slaying dragons and holding, the family together in a different structure. This is kind of the structure where a man abdicates his responsibility. It also assumes that dudes do things just for the sake of love.
Chore play?
Yeah. It's like chore play. You go ahead and don't do it, gentlemen.
I have been seeing so many of those things, like so many of, there was this one, I just saw it today. It was like 4 ways a man can keep his woman happy with his hands. And it was him washing the dishes, cleaning the toilet, bringing her flowers, and I was like, oh my gosh.
And you look at the comments section and all these women are like, yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm like, it's a lie.
It's a trap. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. It was so gross. So this is like where you elevate, what is it? You elevate the woman to the place at the top of the hierarchy. And everybody serves.
Everybody serves the woman.
If mama ain't happy.
I think there's some of that. I think the next hierarchy that we're going to go through is really more that thing. So I think the last bit of this is a lot of times it is when betrayal happens or when things happen in a relationship where it turns against the man in a serious way, where he starts really reconsidering things, it is only at that point that he starts to realize that a woman loves him for what he is, not for who he is. His individual character and integrity and all of that is secondary to what he brings to the table. And usually by the time he realizes this, all this other stuff has happened, which is what has led him on a quest to discover this in the first place.
It seems like these days it's more, by the time he realizes this, it's when she's like, I'm not happy, I'm leaving. She's already got her foot out the door.
Or she's checked out in like attitude ways, right?
Yeah.
Where she may not have betrayed him yet, but this is the time where she'll be thinking, oh, hey, let me go pick a new horse out from the stables. And then once I've got him picked out, then go ahead then monkey branch over to him.
I guess this is where we get the scenarios of years long of a sexless marriage before it ends.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is the death kiss.
Yeah. This is the model of family that you are most likely to see that scenario pan out. Is that he's been so beaten down by being under her authority that he just kind of accepts it. And it isn't until it's too late that he like can actually get his head out of the sand and look around and go, oh, there is a freaking sandstorm going on. I need to get out of here. So that's kind of like the summary of the female-centric family order. Now, the next one you see really commonly is called the subdominant model. This is where men are at the center, but the women and children's needs are still greater than his. So in the previous one, it was the woman is at the center and the other two are lesser than her. In this case, the man is at the center and both the women and the children are greater than him. This is happy wife, happy life. So this thing stems from an overly enthusiastic belief of egalitarian gender equalism, where it abdicates masculinity as his core. He lowers his responsibility, he abdicates headship, and all of that. And normally, for a guy to agree to this, he usually comes into a relationship pre-whipped. He's conditioned at his root to go ahead and put himself at the feet of the feminine imperative. So he is the foundation of the family still in this structure, and everybody else's needs come first, and they're about equal in importance. Whereas in the first model we discussed, yeah, the women and children were more important, but the children were the primary concern. Then the women, then the guy. Whereas in this case, the guy is the foundation. Both women and children roughly have approximately equal value and both more important than him. I think that this is really the most common framework for a beta provider that's really a beta, whereas in the first framework, he can still have like alpha characteristics, like he can like not put up with crap, generally speaking.
A desensitized alpha.
But he's like desensitized. He doesn't he's just been beaten down by the world kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think arguments are much more common in a household where the women are the primary decision maker. Because generally speaking, women don't want to be making decisions. And if she's making decisions, usually it's at his detriment.
Because opportunistic.
Because of opportunistic love. And so because of happy wife, happy life, I think this is just seared the souls of so many men. And whereas they think that they are doing the right thing by putting their women and children above them. And once again, this goes back to when you pedestalize women, bad things typically happen. What do you think about that whole thing? What kind of commentary do you have about the whole happy wife, happy life thing? Because I know you have lots of thoughts.
I've seen it. I really think it started with the 90s sitcoms.
Okay, like Home Improvement and things like that?
And doing just enough. Oh, don't tell your mom. It's like, really?
Right.
Because that's the thing is they were doing just enough good stuff to keep out of the doghouse. And then they started to come out and say it. If mom ain't happy, nobody happy. And it's like.
Why is that acceptable?
Why is that okay?
Well, not only is it acceptable, it's the default position for a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's interesting because if you were truly egalitarian about it, it would be happy spouse, happy house, right?
You never hear that.
No, they only say that as a platitude.
Right, it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah, and they just go, oh, and they laugh it off
because they really know what they're talking
ridiculous. About. It's just what they say and what they actually do are two different things.
Right. And we say this consistently is, hey, their words matter less than their behaviors.
And they get so mad when and they harp on the fact that like equating our needs and our wants and all of this stuff and and our roles and our function to our value.
There's two separate things.
And they're two separate things. And this is how it shows. This is how it manifests. When you really try to be egalitarian about it, it's not really what everybody wants. You get all this perfect, like, oh, well, you have equal say here and we make decisions together. And then she's not happy. She's still not happy.
And this kind of reminds me of like the pay gap kind of thing. There's like, well, first of all, the pay gap doesn't really exist in the first place. But now that you see a lot of women are out earning men because 60% of college graduates now almost are women nowadays. So there's a little bit of a wage gap there. And the women are having a hard time finding a guy.
Because you wasted the prime years to find one.
Well, no, because
there's
not enough guys in their age category that are educated and all of that to meet their elevated standards.
Who want them. Yeah.
Who actually want them.
I saw this chick who she's self-proclaimed high strung, type A, blah, 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 well educated. You can tell she's probably making easy high 6 figures, probably 7 figures. And she wanted somebody who would be equal income or higher.
Of course.
And then she's like, I want someone who will let me be me, but won't let me. She's like, I can't have a beta because I will walk all over him and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she was offended that she went to a matchmaker.
Yeah. And they didn't.
They're like, I cannot meet your needs. She is essentially got fired by a matchmaker because it's Delulu.
Sure.
It was just like...
It's like, I want my cake, I want to eat it too, and I want to rub his face in it, but I don't want him to let me rub his face in it, but I want to rub his face in it.
But what's interesting is, like, she's saying, why do I have to lower my standards to be acceptable? And so...
Different set of standards.
So it's just interesting. It's like, then, wait, so you have standards that you want met, and you're not willing to change anything. Mm-hmm. So that means that this man that you supposedly want, he's not allowed to have standards. He's not allowed to tell them what he wants because he has to accept what you give him.
Right, and that's why she is getting the results that she's getting, because it's delusional. And so think about it from the other side of the table. If you are bringing all this stuff and you have these high expectations, the kind and caliber of man that meets those expectations has a lot of women to be able to choose from. Because most men do not care what the woman brings to the table in terms of finance.
Especially because number one, he's a rarity.
Yes.
He's a commodity.
Correct. And she believes herself to be a commodity because she measures herself in the same way that she believes that men should be measured. She measures herself like a man. She doesn't measure herself like a woman because she got suckered by this gender equality stuff, and she didn't realize that her primary agency was in her 20s.
She bought into the lie. And the thing is, with this other, mama ain't happy, all of that stuff, men got suckered into that lie too.
Well, because they came pre-whipped. Like, we got this feminine, centric social order that's training dudes to accept this because, oh, hey, it's the default correct position. And I think a lot of guys at this point are opting out. They're like, I don't want to do this.
Well, it's interesting because just like when you ask some guys, like, you going to put up with that? And they don't understand. They've been so preconditioned. They don't understand that they have a choice.
Sure.
But yes, we talked about like this person is usually more of beta than the other model where they were just a beaten down alpha.
Right, where reality just kicked them in the nuts and they just got to go ahead and like work and provide and do all the things because that's the role that they've been ascribed to. And a lot of times they don't have the ability to look up and do the thing because they're too busy handling, which is rough because at some point you need to have some balance there. Mm-hmm. And if she is providing you kind of the bare minimum, well, you don't have things you can technically complain about because you're getting the bare minimum.
Yeah. So it's interesting to take really in a minute here, like take this and go, yeah, when you don't have a clear, we talked about with the Charlie Kirk thing, you don't have a clear vision. And that vision isn't built on a greater foundation, a foundation greater than yourself.
Sure.
And that's why the sustainable, traditional, time-tested way of doing things, that is why it still was yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that. And so this is what I call the divine model. This is where you've got God is at the top, then man, then woman, then children, right? So the children obey the mother. The mother goes ahead and runs the household and does all the things. The woman submits to the man's leadership, and he goes ahead and serves the society and God. That is the divine social order in a family, right? It's a patriarchal model of a social order. And so a dude has his primary responsibility to serve God and others in the society. And in so doing, he is able to go ahead and handle the needs of the family by being on his mission and having a transcendent mission while looking out for himself, because he understands that he is the engine that causes everything else to happen. This is why I go ahead and recommend that men look out for their interests and to take care of themselves and know that they have the responsibility to take care of others. It's like the oxygen mask in the airplane. You put on your own oxygen mask before you reach out and take care of your kid. Because if you are knocked out, you can't help them. And so the women are loved, they're cherished, they're protected, and the thing that they give back is submission to the patriarch that is taking good care of them and leading them in the way that they should go and giving them structure and frame around the relationship, which is something that a lot of women just hate the idea of because they are conditioned to believe that frame and boundaries are control. Whereas we've spoken plenty of times in times past where providing the boundaries and the frame is something that is liberating to women because they are able to know that they are safe within those boundaries. What do you think about that?
So because we talked about before this that your value and your equality in a relationship does not equate to your value as a human being.
They're not the same thing.
That means just because you are taking a step back behind somebody and getting in line with a certain hierarchy and a framework, it doesn't mean you get to be a doormat.
Right.
That in no way. If you are in an abusive relationship, you need to leave. That's not okay. Or you need to get some help, obviously. But if he is taking a firmer hand and he's making sure that this is where we're going, this is what we're supposed to be doing, so I need you to do this and this and this. And it's not like, get on your hands and knees and scrub the floor with a toothbrush. That's not okay. Yeah. You can use a mop. We have mops now. We have a little Roomba, if you can swing it, the one that does mopping and sweeping. Cool.
Sure.
But
it could be something as simple as, hey, look, we need to be careful about our budget this week. Please don't go ahead and overspend on this, this, and this. And her response to go ahead and do that is not being a doormat. It is being cooperative and being on the same team.
No, it's not like, well, screw you, I'm going Bloomingdale's.
Right.
No.
Because that's clearly going to work out well for everybody.
Well, nobody and no one. That's you end up on your butt. I mean, seriously, because nobody wants to deal with a nag.
Yeah.
But, also, it's like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what's happening and this is what's going. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that was happening on the other end. I'm just sitting here in my little bubble and I'm thinking everything's all hunky-dory. So if you give me some heads up, cool, I can figure that out.
Sure. And if you get the heads up the week prior and it is reminded to you, just get on the train and that's it. It's pretty straightforward stuff.
You don't act like a toddler and go to Bloomingdale.
Right. So now, talking a little bit about an abusive relationship, I think the word abuse in our society is overused for any kind of affront.
By and large, yes.
Right? I think a lot of people, just like narcissists, just like a lot of these like words are just thrown around to represent something that women don't like.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than actual abuse, whether it's physical or emotional or whatever. Right? And telling the woman to not overspend on something is not a form of financial abuse. It is a form of being on the same page about your goals. And that's it, right? Sometimes she doesn't see the forest for the trees. And that's okay. Like, as long as you guys get on the same page, so you're like, hey, these are the things that we need to take care of, then things are going to be better for the whole family if you can go ahead and get on the same page. Mm-hmm. And this has to do with clear and open communication from both sides. And it's understandable how sometimes communication is not easy to do if you're in your feelings and you don't have the time to decompress and really unravel the spaghetti ball to their requisite straight parts so both people can have understanding. Because I know that I think very linearly in a lot of ways. And I have like, my intersections are not a spaghetti ball. My intersections are straight linking things, like the whole conspiracy theorist board. Mm-hmm. Like, they're all straight lines to different connecting nodes. Whereas in times past, you've described your thought process is it's all smashed together like spaghetti in a ball, where when you serve the spaghetti, it's difficult to go ahead and extract strand by strand.
Oh, it is absolutely like the diagram that they draw, or the differences between how a man shops and how a woman shops. Like, absolutely, like, that's my train of thought right there.
Sure.
Squirrel. And that's why I don't make huge decisions.
And I think it's one of those times where even when we have disagreement, those times are to go ahead and give you emotional space to really consider what you're thinking about, mm-hmm. and then reapproaching later. And sometimes it's hard when even in the reapproach you get in your feelings, mm-hmm. because it is natural for women to do that.
Sometimes it takes a couple tries.
Sometimes it takes a couple tries, and that's okay, right? It's on the women or on the men's side, it is important to have the wisdom to know how to navigate that. And it isn't a matter of not coming to decisions. It's about figuring out what the effective strategy is to get it done.
See, and that's part of the responsibility of respecting, each other's value as human beings. Mm-hmm. The difference between doing that and being respectful and
being out of pocket or being overbearing on whatever side that is, right?
And I mean, also the fact that, like, when you guys openly communicate, things that are happening, maybe she says something and be like, there's something there. Let me take that and think about it. And
sure,
because obviously we all have opinions.
Yeah.
We all have different perspectives of things. And just because, you make a decision that I was like, I didn't have, like, I had an input, but you didn't go in that direction.
Sure.
It doesn't mean it's like, I don't think anything, your brain is full of rocks or, stuff like that.
Sure.
It's just like, from my perspective and what I'm seeing, holistically as a 30,000 foot view of the situation, that was really cool for this. I'll kind of, take these parts and kind of put it in the back pocket. But for right now, like, this has to be the thing. And it's like, okay, cool, thanks. But just, even normally, we just want to be heard.
Sure. And sometimes it's interesting because when you go ahead and bring something up to her and she applies the situation to herself and not to what you're actually talking about,
you're acting like a toddler. Stop it.
She acts like a toddler when she goes ahead and believes that you're talking about her specifically. It's like, no, you're talking about a situation. And oftentimes she can go ahead and apply it to herself mistakenly, because a lot of times women, they go ahead and express themselves from themselves first because of solipsism, without regard for what's going on in the periphery.
And anytime y'all be doing that, y'all be telling on yourselves. Come on.
Sure. And like, even when we talk sometimes, this happens. And it's just a matter of like regrouping and figuring it out. Because it's like there's a difference.
Yeah, but if you're going to double down on, like, your little temper tantrum and stuff, and like be like, this is the hill I'm going to plant myself on.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
Right? And then, so like we haven't talked a whole lot about children in this model. And children are important, absolutely. And they're to be loved and protected and cared for and all of that. But it's recognized that they are not the primary widget in the family. They are the genetic legacy. They are super important.
And they start off as little baby things that find a million different ways to self-delete.
Yeah.
That's why they need parents. And yes, they have immediate needs, but it's honestly in the span of raising a family, it's not that long.
Sure.
And the quicker that they can get on the program of this is not your show, the better off they are.
And the better off it is for the family as a whole, right? Because like when the children can't really do for themselves and you enable that when they are of an age that they can actually start doing that, then you end up handicapping yourself as a parent in the process. Whereas I'm of the opinion that if a kid could do something, they should be doing it. If they have the ability to do so for themselves. Whereas...
And even if they can't kind of do it, like you can sit there alongside them for a while until they get that independence.
Yeah, because how are they going to do it otherwise? You got to train them up.
Like...
to teach them. I mean, it's just like training a new employee too. Is like you don't just go ahead and give them the handbook and say, okay, go do it.
Yeah.
You go ahead and have somebody beside them, training them step by step until they can go ahead and start crawling and walking and running. Same thing with kids. But the reason why I bring it up in that they're not the primary widget is the primary nexus in the relationship is husband and wife. And that is the core of the family.
That's the foundation of your household right there.
And from that core in this model, the children benefit from a strong marriage.
They see how a marriage should be.
Sure.
How, difficulties are weathered. How, disagreements or, different situations are negotiated. They see that if two people are like working things out, and especially when it's a little bit difficult or uncomfortable, and they're like, should I leave? They see that no matter what, even the next day, it's like, hey, how you doing? We're still here. It's like there is no, oh my gosh, are you guys gonna break up now? No. That's never on the table.
And then on the flip side, they might have to go ahead and raise their Echo Dots volume up a little bit because they're hearing a thing or two that they didn't want to hear from across the house. That's hilarious, though, that came up.
Oh my gosh, that just happened like a few days ago. They told me that. I was like,
yeah, well.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, we told them.
Yeah.
Hey, anything you hear, and you close your doors. If you hear it, it's your own fault.
But now I just check their volumes and I turn them down after a while
Yeah.
before I go to bed.
Sure.
That's another one thing to shut the house down. But it's just, they see that and they see model or marriage, like a strong marriage, modeled before their very eyes.
Yeah, and then
From
that
the
way.
two people they admire the most, let's be honest.
Sure. Our youngest daughter, I took her to the park on Saturday, and almost every day she has brought that up. And she gets to see, and she was super excited about how that happened. And she gets to see the relationship that the two of us have modeled. And she sees that we have enough love and abundance that we can go ahead and provide tangentially to them. Mm-hmm. And though it may not be like an everyday occurrence, if we go ahead and take the time to do that from time to time, they love that. Mm-hmm. And it is very important to them. So by taking care of the core nexus of the marriage and then making sure to care for and love the children on their own terms in their own way, that, I believe, is the proper family structure. And I think that it has many benefits for the husband and the wife, mm-hmm. and tons of benefits for the children and for our society as a whole. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, because especially when we started to see with the sexual revolution, like the breakdown of culture in general and society in general, mm-hmm. it was first the attack on the family.
Oh, yeah. The nuclear family was in the that's
in
been
general.
Feminism as a whole since its inception. Its primary target was the destruction of the nuclear family. And so if you keep that in mind, when you go ahead and look at the different social patterns that are going on in our society, they match up a lot. So let's go ahead and land the plane. We talked about a few different models of hierarchies for a family. We discussed like what a hierarchy is in the first place, as well as how like dudes' hierarchies and women's hierarchies are very different because we're very different animals, right? And we discussed 4 different models for what a family hierarchy could look like. We looked at the conventional model where the dude is, hey, he's just strapping up and working, and he may get like the bare minimum, but he's not really cared for as much. He's just doing what he can to provide for the family, and he's willing to give himself up for everything. Where for a season, that makes sense, but I believe it's not sustainable for the long term. The second one was the feminine primary model, where everybody is revolving around the woman, and everybody's less important than the woman. And this is where she takes primary agency, and this is where a lot of times dudes will get backstabbed like crazy because she has all this opportunity and none of the responsibility. We also talked about the subdominant model, which is really common nowadays, where the dude is the foundation of the family and the women and children are more important than him. And the mantra of this model is happy wife, happy life. And it leads to all kinds of nonsense, and this is where we have a lot of problems in our society, primarily from this model. And then we followed up with the idea of the divine model, where God is at the top, then man, who is the patriarch of the family, who is strong and must go ahead and handle his business so that the woman is willing to submit to his authority and give him the things that he needs so that he can provide everything else for everybody else, both in the family and in the society writ large. And in that model, the children get to see a wonderful, healthy marriage modeled for them, and they get to benefit from that. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any closing thoughts on this?
Patriarchy is not a bad word.
Patriarchy is not a bad word. Yeah, long live the patriarchy. Bring it back.
Don't fight the patriarchy. Feed it.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome. Go ahead and hit us up with a like. Subscribe for more. Thanks so much. Make it a great day.